Hello, this is Cynthia Sue Larson with Reality Shifters, and I'm here in February 2010 to talk about perception and how to improve relationships. And I'm starting today with a quote from the Talmud, which says, "We do not see things as they are, we see them as we are." And the thing that I like so much about that quote is that it drives home a point that I've been aware of most of my life, which has to do with just the very big differences between the way one person sees the world and another person sees the world. And sometimes we're just oblivious to the differences because we tend to assume that our own viewpoints are the way the world is. We don't recognize that we are changing everything we see with our point of view, just as it is. So for example, if you have this one individual that's very, very shy and retiring and doesn't really want to say or greet the world because this individual is very introverted perhaps, or just aware of things on a different level. So this individual doesn't really want to get out and meet and greet the world, whereas a much more dynamic, boisterous individual such as this Phoenix, just really is flashy, colorful, life of the party, and might be trying to constantly get through the shell of this very introverted, very soft-spoken character here. And I'm using these two puppets today just as an example of this, but I think most of us can recognize in ourselves what it is that makes such a difference for us when we're out in the world. I know when I was very young, I had a different view of the world because I saw things and I felt things that people weren't talking about. Everything from the energy that people would feel around one another, such as if I saw a shy person like this, I would have a sense, an intuitive, empathic understanding of how they were feeling, and I would know things that they weren't necessarily saying, whereas a very boisterous person might jump into my room and my sphere of influence, and I would be aware of things that they also were not necessarily saying, but they were aware of and alternating and fixing and changing and transforming in the world. So that's my mystic's view of this physical reality. But some people that don't even have the mystic's view still would notice differences, such as if they have a lifelong background in working with the military, for example, being a soldier all of their lives versus being a monk all of their lives. Those two individuals would have extremely different, yet not necessarily untrue, views of exactly what's going on. So their worldviews are different. Those lenses of perception that they both utilize are very different. And what happens is we have an opportunity in a relationship to start to see things from the other's point of view. So this is something that we can use as a tool, just knowing that our point of view is very different, that we can shift reality by the way we observe the world, and much of what we observe is invisible to us because it's part of that lens of perception that we take for granted, that we don't even notice that we have. Yet if we try to see the world through another's eyes, we begin to see how it's possible to come to a better understanding, not just of that other person, but of the whole world. We can start seeing the world a little bit more as it really is and start to notice the patterns inside of it. So that's what I've been thinking about this month in February. It's the month of love, and relationships seem like they're so important. This other book that I'd like to talk about, I love to share books with you, and as usual, I'm definitely getting books for free, so I need to say that so people know that I'm a book reviewer. People send me a lot of things. The ones that I share with you are ones that I think you will find extremely useful. So this Dice Game of Shiva, this is a book that I highly recommend for anybody that likes to investigate consciousness. It's written by Richard Smalley. That name should ring some bells for a lot of people because Richard is one of the world's leading authorities on mystical philosophy. And he is a graduate of Harvard and Oxford. And what I love about this book is that he gets into something which is rather esoteric for most of us in the Western world, having to do with this so-called Dice Game of Shiva. And I'm not going to go into it and ruin the surprise. It's worth reading the book just to find out what the story's about, and a lot more behind not just Eastern mysticism, but behind the true nature of consciousness when you read this book. Very thought-provoking. It's scholarly but not tedious, so I highly recommend it. Another book that's totally different It's more than a book, actually. This Transform Your Life Through Handwriting. I was surprised when I got it because I was expecting it to be a book. It's actually, as you can see in here, there's a series of little booklets here. There's a journal, there's a guidebook, and so it gives a person a chance to practice doing some handwriting. And then there are these cards. The cards, as you can see, the handwriting that's recommended is rather basic. I was surprised at that too. I don't know what I was expecting exactly, but I came to really like this because what I can see from the explanations that are given by the author, and she also has, you can listen to the CDs that come with it. There are 2 CDs, a deck of cards, and then this book explains quite a bit, going through it all. Well, you can see it's different than just a book anyway, but the book explains letter by letter a little bit about the family that the letter came from, what it means, what elements and soul qualities go along with it, and the kinds of things to look out for so that you can make sure that your handwriting tends to avoid some of the pitfalls that many handwriting experts are quite well aware of. So people that are familiar already with handwriting analysis. Fascinating book. It's a book by Vimala Rogers, and I also highly recommend it. So to close today's little video, and I try to keep these short, so I just want to stick to the main point today. You can read a lot more about this at the February 2010 Reality Shifters. So this little video is just sort of a high-level summary of just the intro that I write, a couple of the books. It doesn't go through all the reality shift stories that come in that I like to share, nor does it share the questions and answers and so forth. So there's a lot more information available, as well as links to articles. I do recommend you check that out if you get a chance. But today I just want to thank you for looking at your lenses of perception, giving some thought to the way that you see the world, and opening your mind and your heart up to reach out to others, to imagine how it is to see things and see the whole world through a completely different lens of perception. And as we open our lenses of perception and start understanding that we can share with others, the world becomes a much more magical place, actually. There's a lot more than meets the eye. We could just keep expanding and expanding, and there's always more to see. So until next time, keep on finding out how good it can get. Thanks a lot. Look forward to hearing from you. Take care.